Hi, I'm Navid Ansari, and in this video, we're gonna set up our player to be online player, multiplayer player, right? So without any further ado, let's begin. You remember from last video, we add all of these sprite script object from our multiplayer game, and we set up everything, right? Now let's just go to our player, okay? If you have watched my videos about platformer game, you know that I did write the code for platformer game to be readable and easy to develop, and it is modular and it is easy to convert it to a multiplayer game, okay? We create a state machine in there, we have some player values in here, we have some variables, and now I'm gonna convert it to a multiplayer player in here. But before doing anything else, I got my first Patreon supporter that you can see it here, I think, and I want to thank him to support me on Patreon. Thank you, man. And now let's begin. First of all, if we go to a step, you remember that we check the inputs. We have a movement function, we have apply gravity, okay? And what is the important one is this input check, right? If we open up this input check, you can see we just check the inputs and we save them in key left, key right, key down, key jump, key shift, key shoot, okay? And whenever we hit A on our keyboard, it will go left, and whenever we hit D on our keyboard, it go to right, and you get the idea, right? First thing that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna change, cut this move equal to key right minus key left, cut it and put it in this movement function because it's all about movement. And this input check is all about checking the inputs, right? So we have it like this. We have a function that just checking the inputs, right? So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna check if this is a instance of another player from our server or not, okay? So in create event, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a variable in here and I wanna call it is this our player, okay? If this is our player and equal to true at default, right? So if it's our player and it's not from server, just check the input. So in a step event, we check if is this our player. Else, if it's not our player, just get the state of this player from the internet, right? So we have it like this. And if this is our player, just check the inputs, right? Just check the inputs. And whatever inputs telling you, do that. And if it's not our player, for example, get player inputs, okay? Just like that. If it's our player, if this player is our player, just check the inputs. But if it's not our player, get the player inputs from the server, right? So let's just create this function first in our script in here. I say function get player inputs and like this. I don't want to write anything for no in here because when we are the player, we want to send our states to our server, right? So for that, let's just create another function to send these input checks and x and y of our player to the server. So all the other players can get that states. So I want to call this function set player stats, okay? And like this. So let's just create this function in here again, function set player states, and this is our function. So let me explain it one more time because it's hard to explain it, but I will explain it again and again so you get the idea how it works, because we want to use this obj player for all the players, right? So it has gravity, it has movement, it has animation and all of that, right? If it's our player, check the input and send the input to the server. And if it's not our player and it's just instance of other players that join this host, just get that player inputs from the internet, or we can just call it get player stats, okay? We can call it like this. So let's just change it in here as well, get player stats. So we have two new functions. One of them, if it's our player, it will set player stats, but if it's not our player, it will get the player stats, right? Another thing that I want to add to this create event is the player number. And you know that we get it when we host a game or we join a game, and we get the player number. So in here, I want to create another variable and I want to call it player number, okay? And at default, it is 0. Next thing that I want to add to this create event, I want to add all of this variable, key left, key right, and all of that to our create event so we can access it everywhere, right? So let's just copy and paste all of this with holding Alt. I'm doing selecting like this, and copy it and add it to create event like this. Paste it here, and we have all of that here. And I want to equal all of them to 0 like this. Okay, now in a step event, we check our inputs and we store it in key left, key right, key down, key jump, and all of that. And we can access it in everywhere, okay? And in movement, we check those key left, key right, and key jump, key down, and everything, right? And we check it in input. We don't need to anything with this apply gravity, with this movement. We don't need to do anything with them. We just have two functions. One of them is for getting player stats and one of them is for setting player stats, right? So for this set player stat, what we want to send, we want to send all of these input checks plus X and Y, right? So let's just write this set player stat first. So let's just go to this set player stat, and in here I want to create a DS map each time. I call it data is equal DS map create, and I want to say DS map add, and in here I want to add to this data in here. So let's just copy and paste that. First thing that I'm gonna send, the key of that is key left, for example, right? The key left is equal to key left, right? It's just a boolean. And let's just copy and paste this for using it in key right, key down, and all of that. So how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need 5 on them in here. And key right, I just copy and paste all of that in here because we want to send all of that in here. Key down, key jump, key shift, key shoot, and with that we send key left, key right, key down, key jump, key shift, and all of that. Next thing that I'm gonna send, let's just copy and paste these two in here. I want to send X and I want to send Y. I just set it to the X and Y, okay? Because sometime, because key left pressed one time, maybe we don't get it, so we will send X and Y to be accurate, right? Next thing that I'm gonna send, let's just copy and paste these two again, and I want to send player number and host number as well. So in here I want to say host number, and I want to set the host number in here, that is in global dot host number, and I want to send player number as well, player number, and it is in global, that is global dot player number, right? So we send all of the player data like key left, key down, and all of that, X and Y and host number, because we want to tell the server that we are at this host number and we want to set the state of this player number, right? So now we can send it. For sending that, we can use our function send map over UDP. First of all, the IP, right now it is the local, so like we did it a lot of time. The port is 8080 like before. The size, I want to change size to something like 1000, okay? The map that we want to send is data, and the type is msg type dot set player stat, right? So with this, we send the player stat each frame. Let's just delete this in here. And this is all about our set player stat, okay? Now let's just go to our server. And in server, you remember we have just player number and X and Y. We want to add a lot of things to this object player in our server. What I want to add in here is all of this data in here. So for example, key left should be added to here, key right, and you can see we have player number, we have X, Y, key left, key right, key down, key jump, key shift, and key shoot. So we set all of this for our player, and when we want to get it, it will be easier to get it, right? So now that we added to here, let's just set it in the inside it as well. I just copy and paste it here. We just say this dot key left is equal key left, and we have all of that. So with that, we should change some things in our functions. So for example, this create host. Right now it just set three default value, and we want to add how much? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more. So let's just add it in here as well. 0. So let's just copy and paste this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I think that's okay. Next one is in this join host, okay? So let's just add to that as well from here. Just copy and paste this to here. It's just for creating the player at the join, okay? So the X and Y is 0 and 0, so it will create our player at 0, 0 location. The key left, key right, all of them at default should be 0. You know that at default in create event of this player, all of them is 0. So we put 0 in for key left, key right, key shoot, and key jump, and all of that, right? Now everything is okay in here. We should change this player stat node, okay? You know that in here with this set player stat in here, we send all of this, and in our server we have an object that can get all of that, and in our set player stat we should get those data and store it in that player. So for that, what we should do, we should say hosts. The host number, we send it from gamemaker, this host number, right? So let's just copy and paste this in here. It is in data.host number, and the player stat that we want to change is this data dot, let's just copy and paste the player number from here. The key is important. data.player number, and what we want to change is key left, for example, is equal to data dot, let's just again copy and paste it from here, key left. You get the idea how it's working. We send the host number, we send the player number, and we want to change the key left of that player, and we do it like this. We send the key left as well. Okay, so whenever we say data dot, it means whatever data that is coming to our server, right? And when we say hosts dot key left, it means we want to change the key left value in this player in here. Okay, and we can get all of those data in our game maker as well. Okay, so let's just copy and paste all of that for 1, 2, 7 times 3. I will paste it sometime. So we set the key left. No, we need key right. So let's just copy and paste this to here as well. We can just copy it from here. Key down here. We want to set it in our server, right? Key jump, key shift, key shoot. We want X and Y as well. So we can say X equal to data.x and Y is equal data.y. Okay. And we can delete this last one because we don't need it. Okay, so with that we set the player stats and it will be saved in server, and we can get all of this data in all the instances in other players game. Now let's just run our server to see if it's working correctly or not. So run it here. If we click on host, it will send our data to our server. So let's see if it's working or not. First of all, let's just bring the both of these, and if we hit left on our keyboard, and you can see when we hit right on our keyboard, the key right is 1, and when we hit on key left, you can see the key left is 1 now, and you can see when we click on our keyboard, it's happening in here. So for example, if we hit shift on our keyboard, the key shift will be 1 and it stay 1, and if we get all of this state in our other instance of game maker, we can get these values and use it on instance of players, right? So we can see it, key shift 1, and the X and Y, you can see the X and Y is changing as well. The X is this, and if we jump, the Y change as well, and you can see it, everything is sending correctly. Okay, so in the next video, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get all of this state and show you how you can use it in game maker to have a multiplayer player. I hope you like this video. Please, if you have any question, leave it in comments so I can explain it in the next video after that, right? Please, if you want to help me, hit that like button. It's my honor to have you at the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.